Hey y'all, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the order of operations, why it's so important, and how to use it to solve expressions and equations. The order of operations is important because it tells us what order to complete adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing in. It tells us the right order so that way we get the same answer as our neighbor. Wait a second, I thought math would always get the same answer. Let's look at an example where if we don't follow the order of operations, then we'll get different answers. So let's say I had 3 plus 2 times 7. And me and my neighbor are both working on this problem. And as we look at this problem, I look at it and I say 3 plus 2 gives me 5. 5 times 7 gives us 35. So I think the answer is 35. But my neighbor, he really likes to multiply. So he's going to do the multiplying first. He says 2 times 7 is 14. 14 plus the 3 gives us 17. Because he said he's going to do the multiplying first. Do you see how we didn't get the same answer? If we don't get the same answer, then all of math falls apart. So what we did is mathematicians got together and we all agreed on one order that we're going to follow. That order is the order of operations. And so what we do is we say, we're going to follow this order, and as long as everybody follows the same order, we should all get the same answer. The easiest way to remember that order is to remember a sentence. That sentence is, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. If we take the first letters from each of those, it will tell us what order to complete them in. First, we complete all the things that are in parentheses. Parentheses look like this. We complete all the things that are in the parentheses. Parentheses, this step also includes our brackets. You might sometimes hear British people calling this PEMDAS instead of PEMDAS. That's because they use the word brackets instead of parentheses. Brackets are like this. They have square marks on them. And those square marks are kind of like super parentheses. You might see inside the brackets some parentheses inside those brackets. So parentheses is where we do everything that's been grouped together. Remember, like the associative property, they're grouping them and holding them together. First, we do everything that's been grouped together. All the friends we get out of the way first. Then we do the exponents. If you're in 5th grade, you're not going to have to worry about the exponents, but as you go on, exponents are where you'll see a little tiny number hiding up top. What that really means is that we're going to do this 5 times 5. There are 2 sets of 5s hidden there. Or if I had 7 and a little tiny 3 up there, that 3 is an exponent, and it says really this is not just 1 7, this is 7 times 7 times 7. But don't worry about the exponents in 5th grade. Next, we're going to do the multiplying and dividing. And I have to be very careful to make sure that we do the multiplying and the dividing. We don't get to do just the multiplying, then just the dividing. We do the multiplying and the dividing. Well, if we're doing the multiplying and the dividing, we have to know how to break a tie. So what we're going to do is to break ties, we go left to right. So just like you're reading, because we're doing lots of things all at the same time, we sometimes have to break a tie. We think they're both happening in the same step. To break the tie, we read them from left to right. So that's the order that we're going to complete them in. Then we do all of the adding and subtracting. After we finished all the multiplying and dividing, we do all of the adding and subtracting. When we're done with that, we should have just one number left, and that's our answer. So let's look at some examples of how we would use PEMDAS. If I look at this problem here, the first thing that I would do whenever I have a multi-step problem like this is I would write in PEMDAS. And I'm going to write it a little weird. Instead of writing P-E-M-D-A-S all in a line, I'm going to start out like that, P-E, but then I'm going to stack up the M and the D on top of each other. The reason why I write it this weird way is to remind myself that multiplying and dividing happen at the same time. Then PEMDAS, the next ones are A and S, adding and subtracting, and those happen at the same time too. So I'm going to stack those up on top of each other. This tells us what order we should complete things in. First, we should do all the things in the parentheses. So I'm going to do all the things in the parentheses. But wait a second, I see two sets of parentheses. Do you remember how we break a tie? We break a tie by going left to right. So I'm going to go left to right. First, I'm going to do the 5 times the 2. 5 times 2 is 10. I'm going to write the 10 here. And then since I've used up everything in the parentheses, they can go away. I'm going to bring down everything that I haven't touched yet. I'm going to bring down this plus. I'm going to bring down this whole section here, this parentheses, 3 times 15. Then I'm going to go back. Because I don't have just one number yet, I'm going to try PEMDAS again. The first thing I should do is I should do parentheses. Since I still see parentheses, that's the step I should do next. I'm going to say 3 times 15. 3 times 15 is 45. And now since I've done everything inside those parentheses, they can go away. I still have to carry down this plus, and I still have to carry down this 10. Then I go back and I try again, because I'm not down to just one number yet. I haven't simplified it all the way down. I look for parentheses, but I don't see any parentheses left, so I get to move on. I look for exponents. There's no exponents in 5th grade, so we don't have to worry about that. Then I look for any multiplying and dividing. I don't see any multiplying and dividing, so I can move on. Then I look for adding and subtracting. I do see adding and subtracting, so the last thing I have to do is I have to add together the 10 plus the 45 to give us our answer of 55. All right, let's look at an example where we have to do PEMDAS. Let's look at this example. Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can figure out what this number should be. Okay, so you paused the video and you figured out what you think this number should be. When I simplify it down, when I use PEMDAS to get just one number, what did you think it was? Well, let's solve it. First, I'm going to write PEMDAS. And again, I'm going to write it in this weird way where I put the M on top of the D and the A on top of the S. Because the multiplying and dividing happen in the same step, the adding and subtracting happen in the same step. Then I'm going to follow those steps. It says P, the parentheses first. 2 times 3 is 6. Then I bring down everything that I haven't touched yet. Because I used up everything in the parentheses, I don't have to have the parentheses anymore. But I bring down the plus, and I bring down this 36. Now I go back to PEMDAS. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, adding and subtracting. The first time I see something that I can do, it's adding and subtracting because there's no more parentheses left, there's no exponents, there's no multiplying and dividing, but there is adding and subtracting. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 36 plus 6, which gives me 42. 42 is my answer. How'd you do? Did you get it right? All right, let's try another one. Go ahead and pause the video and try to solve this one. Okay, when I go to solve this one, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write PEMDAS. Again, I'm going to write it in that strange way. P, the E, and then the M right on top of the D, the A right on top of the S, because that helps me to remember the steps. First, I'm going to do the parentheses, then the exponents, then the multiplying and dividing, then the adding and subtracting. So first I'm going to do the stuff in the parentheses. That's 35 times 2. 35 times 2 gives us 70, and I bring down everything else. I bring down this 85, the minus, and the 6. Then I start again. I don't see any parentheses, I don't see any exponents, I don't see any multiplication or division, but I do see addition and subtraction. In fact, I see 2 sets of subtraction. So I have to remember how to break the tie. If I didn't break the tie correctly, I'm going to get the wrong answer. The way that I break the tie is I break the tie the same way that I read it. I read it from left to right. So I'm going to do 85 minus 70 first. 85 minus 70 gives us 15. And then I bring down everything else that I didn't touch. I didn't touch this minus 6. Lastly, my answer is 15 minus 6. This is just a simple math problem. 15 minus 6 gives us 9. Our answer is 9. Hopefully you got that one. Let's look at one last one, and then we'll be done for the day. Okay, pause the video and try to solve this one. Okay, so when I want to solve this one, I write PEMDAS the weird way, P, the E, the M and D on top of each other, the A and S on top of each other. So I've got PEMDAS. Then I'm going to do the parentheses first. Everything in the parentheses happens first. I bring down everything else that I didn't touch. I didn't touch the 10, or the minus, or the plus, or the 12. Then I'm going to go and I'm going to say no parentheses, no exponents, no multiplying or dividing, but there is adding and subtracting. I don't do the adding first because those happen at the same time. I break my tie by going left to right. So 10 minus 8 gives us 2. Then 2 plus the 12 gives us our answer of 14. All right, hopefully that helped, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.